Good afternoon. Welcome to UK Column News. It's Thursday, the 16th of April, and just after 1 o'clock. I'm your host, Mike Robinson. With me, John Shackleton. Nick is pushing the buttons, and on Skype we have Guy Tiller. But we're going to start. Well, first of all, how's the weather?
Well, the weather's quite fine here. Blue skies. No trails of anything that's suspicious.
Well, apparently it's sunny but chemmed in Peterborough.
Is it really?
Yes. There you go. Okay. We're going to start off, of course, with Lord Janner. So he's apparently not going to be prosecuted.
This is right. This Lord seems to be, he's not going to get prosecuted because the CPS have made a couple of mistakes and they basically say now that the guy has got dementia. But he's not got dementia to the degree where he's not claiming his £300 a day from the House of Lords. So that's quite interesting.
So what were the nature of the mistakes?
Well, that is a very good question.
Right. Okay, because the CPS doesn't ever make mistakes, do they?
Well, the CPS are obviously an honourable organisation, so they don't make mistakes, and they certainly don't need to apologise for anything, do they? Letting another paedophile free, who was a lord... Alleged, who's been grooming boys, allegedly.
Allegedly. John Mann, this morning, pretty disgusted with this. He's tweeted out, if an MP or former MP... Sorry, Nick, if you just put that up for us. If an MP or former MP is accused with clear evidence of child abuse, it's always without exception in the public interest to prosecute. And then, according to Ian Puddock, he has been told that the authorities are looking for some form of exemption for the child, with regard to the respect to the child sex abuse allegations, if the allegations are over 30 years old. So, I mean, that's a pretty... it kind of follows the pattern if the likes of Janner are being exempted from prosecution, isn't it?
Exactly. I mean, they tend to wait for these MPs and Lords to die first, don't they? Like Mr. Britain, they waited for him to die. Well, I don't know if he did die, actually, but that's a completely different story.
The Mirror here reporting that police can now tell paedophiles by the clothes they wear and the tattoos they have after pioneering training.
Yeah, and this was by the US and the Texas Rangers. They had some training. Now, we had a little bit of a discussion like this earlier, and we talked about, we can tell paedophiles generally because they allegedly wear suits and sometimes red robes.
Well, I was really interested to know whether these two would have been recognised by the current training. And the other point to make here, of course, is that the two children in North London, they alleged that they had witnessed certain tattoos on some of the people that they accuse of abusing them.
That's right, they did, yeah.
The police don't seem to have recognised those tattoos at all.
I think they was over in America, though, at the time, getting training from the Texas Rangers.
Right, okay.
From my understanding.
Okay, so really nothing moves forward with this?
No.
Aside from the private prosecutions that have come out of the grand jury at the conference that we held in February. And those, John Hurst still working on those, and that will progress. We'll give you news of that in due course. But as far as any official inquiry goes, just status quo.
Status quo. There's supposed to be a general election going on. I'm not sure what's going on there, and none of these MPs, except for an MP that I spoke to the other day, the Liberal Democrat. I'm not going to name him, for various reasons, but I did clarify to him some of these illegal activities and something about the CSA inquiry, but he's not got back to me because he's a little bit busy trying to get people to vote for the Liberal Democrats in Portsmouth.
Okay, well, just before we... sorry, Nick, if you could put that up for us. Just before we bring Guy in on the conversation, I just want to highlight again the conference that the National Health Federation, this is Scott Tipp's organisation, is holding on the 25th of April 2015. Do get along to that if you can. It's in Manchester at the Friends Meeting House. It's an all-day event, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And so we go. Right, okay, Guy, are you there? Hello. So, what have you got to update us with?
Well, first and foremost, I'll just go back to what you said. You were talking about status quo, yeah? And of course, they're famous for only having 2 or 3 beats to their music, yeah? Because I think the political parties fall straight into place with that. And the CPS angle, well, on my own private case, the CPS were supposed to produce documents by Monday. They had 3 weeks to do it. And on Monday, I hadn't heard anything. On Tuesday, I hadn't heard anything. So I contacted the court, and they told me that the judge has agreed to give them a 2-week extension, but without informing me. So that covers what you've already talked about. Really, we're in dangerous times now. Really dangerous times. And if anyone hasn't seen the video that John and Brian did last week or the week before, a few days ago, has had masses of interest. We're talking like 80,000 hits in a week or something. And the Manchester eviction, these are key to what's going on at the moment, I feel.
I mean, that Manchester eviction was really a new development. That was really the first time we've heard of that type of activity from the police, isn't that right?
It's done our job for us, Mike. I mean, to be honest with you, the public see that. It's done our job for us. I never would have expected to see that behave like that. It was absolute nonsense. The police turn up in 4 vans with battering rams and break in a bloke's house and chuck his bags out.
That's right. They seem to have a special unit, don't they? They've got a special unit. They've got, you notice the van. The van was kitted out with all these battering rams and people in riot gear. I mean, it looked like civil war to me.
Well, this was the same unit that was active at Barton Moss, of course, that was so aggressive with the anti-fracking protesters.
That's right. Yeah.
The TAU.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's analyse that, right? What's been happening all over the country is that people have been analysing all the bailiffs' paperwork and asking for bailiffs' paperwork. And the reality is none of it is legitimate. And, I don't say that lightly. None of it's legitimate. They've all been operating in this false reality for a long time. And what's happened is they crossed the Rubicon at that point, yeah? And I think the guys who dealt with that there on that day did very well for not questioning what happened. Just let's see what they do. Because a bailiff without the paperwork is a burglar.
Yes.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
And the fact that someone's dressed up as a police officer doesn't mean that he's not a burglar. I mean, otherwise we should be charging people when they do burgle properties with impersonating a burglar. I mean, this is the sort of nonsense that we're at the moment. So, and since that time, people find my number out from everywhere. However, best of luck to them. But I mean, yesterday morning, 8:30, I had a call off a bloke with his kids in a building where they were getting the locks drilled out. With 2 police officers outside, no paperwork, no nothing. And what I think the score is further up the food chain. This is Operation Tiberius stuff. They're pulling the strings on people, and the police are going around there and engaging in criminal action. And it couldn't be seen any more clearly than what happened.
That's right. They're bypassing the total legal system out there. The whole legal system, they're cutting it away, and they're going, even the bailiffs are turning up, let's get the police, kick the door in, move all the gear out, board it up, job's done.
Yeah, but it's doing our job for us. That really is doing our job for us, John. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
totally.
mean, we don't have to show the public any more than the fact that a load of police turn up like Keystone cops, jump out with great big things and start ramming doors. I mean, and then chucking people's bags out into the street. I mean, what is going on? Yeah.
Guy, yesterday on the news we mentioned the new fast-track schemes for the police that the Tory party have put in their manifesto, and really pushing this notion of bringing in chosen graduates into key jobs within the police. I mean, this can only make matters worse.
It's not going to make matters better. Nothing is going to make matters better until the public wake up and realise that the people who are they're paying to support them as guardians are actually operating corporately, and we've got little or no rights in this country unless we stand under what we have got.
We have. You're right, and it's partly like we need to bring back an honourable and decent police force that protect the public. And there are good people out there. I mean, both me and Guy have been on many areas, especially outside Tom's, etc., where every person virtually there is a very decent person, honourable person, you know, and because we've had the numbers, we've been able to stop illegal activity. But the sad thing for me, now that I live down on the south coast, is if I want to try and stop something in Portsmouth, I have a real struggle to get 10, 15 people together. But in Nottingham, Derby, sort of that area, we generally can, and thanks to people like yourself as well, and Tom being a very decent person, and a brilliant family, the Crawford family, we can get, I think we had 600 or 700 people there in Nottingham, in Carlton that time.
No, exactly, and this is why, you know, I mean, this is why, you know, as you both know, the response teams were brilliant to stop, you know, brilliant to get this together. People operating for their local community, but where a lot of the power comes from is the fact that we're not from the local community. You imagine if Nottingham City football fans decided to put in some application that, and there was 5,000 of them, that they decided that Nottingham Forest fans were all criminals, yeah? Mm-hmm. But the fact of the matter is that we're all from all over the country, and I think that empowers us greatly.
That's right, yes.
And rather than being, you know, separate individuals, and years ago in the Birkenhead situation where we all identified each other with umbrellas. I mean, you know, we're talking a few years ago, but we didn't know how to identify each other. We'd spoken over the internet. We didn't know how to identify. And so everybody carried a black umbrella, and we become the Black Umbrella Appreciation Society on that day. And all the old grannies and all the bikers and all the hippies, everybody recognized exactly what we were and what we were doing and what we were standing for. Well, we've moved on 4 years since then, and I mean, but we've moved on a lot, and a real lot. And I mean, now, you know, I wouldn't, you know, I can only speak for myself and my family, and people that are associated to me, but we're not putting up with it anymore, right? We've had enough. They've crossed the Rubicon. They've started committing criminal acts in front of us, and willingly on film.
It's like arrogance, haven't they? They've got this arrogance that they feel they can do whatever they want without our consent and without the rule of law.
It's not only unlawful, which a lot of us have known for a long time. It's illegal.
Yes.
It's illegal, right?
Yeah.
So it's same with the bailiffs, right? A bailiff without the paperwork is a burglar, right? Yeah. Same thing with the police. The police without lawful reason are criminals. You can just, otherwise you'd get riot vans of police travelling around big cities, going around robbing places and thinking that they were doing it legitimately.
Well, that's what we've got, haven't we? We've got the police actually going around cities and doing that and thinking that they're legitimate. And do you know what? I want to just at this moment thank these thugs that are calling themselves the police, these private security companies that have got police across their chests or wherever that are wearing riot gear, because people now, thanks to you, are waking up. You know, because you're doing that, you're destroying people's lives, stealing people's properties. You're not protecting the public anymore. And now I think the time has come for a change. And there are organisations, not only just response organisations, but peace officers that are going up and down the UK, and I'm sure Guy will mention these, of organisations of peace-loving people who are united through. I'm not going to say that word. I was going to say common purpose, but through constitutional common law, you know. And it's great to see different groups coming together and contacting us, and obviously contacting Guy and Tom and that, and saying, look, we want to do something. What can we do?
Yeah, no, exactly, John. And you know, so what's happened is this, right? As you rightly said earlier, Nottingham is really the centre of the country. It's got a lot of history, and I mean, if you go into Nottingham, when you drive in and you go to any pub there, you end up in the Crusader Arms or the Nottingham Knights with a K. Yeah, it's all very much King Arthur type stuff, but it's showing us our history to a certain extent. And so what we've done is this. I mean, obviously, some amazing people in 2001, and since that time, we've been in lawful rebellion. Yeah. Article 61, and I'd refer anyone to go and look at John Hurst's work or the BCG website to find out what I'm talking about. Basically, we're entitled to seize Crown and public buildings. We have been since 2001. Well, we're serving double notice on Nottingham. that from the end of this month, from April the 30th onwards, that we're going to be enforcing this. And we're doing this, and we're doing this from people all over the country. We're using Nottingham as an example of this, and we're going to have a common law event with action, if necessary, under Article 61. And what I've got here is a friend of mine, Kai Holloway. We've got peacekeeper shirts. There are going to be peacekeepers amongst us on that day. We're going to have a fantastic time. We're going to network. We're going to communicate, and we're going to enforce actions on that day.
Well, what's the role of the peacekeepers going to be, Guy?
Well, just to show that amongst us, we are completely peaceful. Yeah. And we don't want to have any trouble with anybody of any description. And every one of us is peaceful at all times. We're peaceful and we're lawful. Nobody's going to be breaking the law. If they do, then we'll arrest them.
Exactly. I think if anybody is there that are going to, I'll use that the police generally try to use, disturb the peace. Now they always say you're disturbing the peace when you're doing peaceful protests. Now I say we, maybe the royal we, but we have peacekeepers that are coming together under oath, under common law oath, to protect society, because it's come to the situation now where we have to protect our own societies, our own cities, our own towns, our own families. That's what, if you like, we've been forced to do. And whilst I'm on this subject, look at the taxation, the council taxation that you're paying towards these criminals, these criminal fraternities, these cartels that are trying to steal your children, your property, your clothes. And thank goodness that there are good people within our community that want to stand up, not for the sake of an ego, not for the sake of anything else, but to protect the community. And it's brilliant. It's fantastic news.
Yeah. So what are the details of the event on the 1st of May then?
Right, the details of this. And coincidentally, there's a lot of stuff going on May the 1st. I don't know if esoterically there's some sort of stuff going on with the other side, as it were. But Tom Crawford's got a court case on that day, so we'd like a lot of support for that anyway. But ultimately, we're all meeting at a pub called the Trip to Jerusalem.
We have a graphic for this.
Yes, great stuff.
Yeah.
And we're going to meet there. There's a large green the other side of the property, so there's plenty of room. I've done a recce around Nottingham and have looked at it, and yes, there's plenty of room for as many as we want. Yeah.
And this is the oldest. This is the oldest pub in the country, is it, Guy?
That's what they claim on the side of the wall, Mike. They claim that they're the oldest pub in the country, and they're basically built into the base of the castle wall. Yeah. I mean, just going there is an experience.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And what we're saying is, this is the trouble with what's been happening with people. You're not alone, yeah? If you think you've got financial problems and that you've had the financial ombudsman, the banking ombudsman, the court rule against you, you've had every rule against you, what they're trying to do, they're trying to snowball you. They're trying to knock you out of the game. The reality is you network, you communicate. And on that day, we're all going to be there. We're all going to have a lovely, splendid time. It's going to be an event. People are going to meet. They're going to network. They're going to communicate. At the very least, it's not a protest. It's not a protest. One thing I will say, it's not a protest. If I was going to call it anything, let's say it's going to be a large pub crawl, right? But we're going
not one of them again. Not one of them again, Guy. I remember last time.
But I mean, we are going to be visiting some places that as the public, we're entitled to do, and that we should be examining. I mean, because ultimately, what on earth are these creatures doing on our behalf and what we're paying them for?
Well, it's interesting because we now have the situation, just to take this conversation a little further, in Plymouth, where if you attempt to, well, first of all, we no longer have a public inquiry desk in Plymouth County Court. And in fact, it has become the case that now that if you want to enter Plymouth County Court as a member of the public to witness a case that you're actually not involved in, but you just want to go and witness a case, the security guards are no longer permitting entry unless you can quote a case number and some reason for being there. So it's increasingly getting to the point where we need, as groups of people, to get together. And I know that Darren Diochi tried this a number of years ago with the People's Public Trust to actually get people in to these kinds of places, to try to hold people to account directly. And I think this is exactly the type of thing we need.
Exactly, Mike. And you said about Darren there and what he did then, and that's what we need. But what we've done is we've pulled them out and we've exposed that they're not actually public courts; they're private hearings.
Yes.
They're operating in a private capacity. And the boys from Ireland over in Belfast have absolutely exposed this by going to court cases before their own court cases and being told it's private. Yeah, and it's the same thing going on here. The same thing going on everywhere. And you know, we've got to realise that we have been infiltrated, and wonderful old gentleman like Norman Scarth has been saying that, we're dealing with quislings. I mean, these clerks of the court and some of these senior police officers, they're common purpose individuals. They're operating not just beyond authority, they're operating illegally and lawfully and everything else that is attached to it. So we've really got to pull together. And I mean, I want Nottingham, I would love Nottingham to be this focus for us all. People who are getting raped by the system, who phone me every morning. When you're getting phone calls from 8:30 in the morning, people with their kids in the house with the locks getting drilled out, I can't be everywhere. Nor can any of us. I mean, what on earth is going on? Yeah. So let's all get to this place. Let's meet. Let's network. Let's communicate with each other. Let's get to Nottingham. May the 1st, right? Let's get to Nottingham. Let's show everybody what we're about.
And we're going to be there as well. We're going to have a team from the UK column, and obviously ourselves, BCG, which you're part of as well. We're going to be there, and we're going to do. I mean, I call it. When we were there with Tom, I call it a celebration, and we had a brilliant celebration. I remember going down to Tom's. We call it Tom's Pub. And we went down there and he was live on TV, and that was our celebration. And we definitely did celebrate that night.
So what's going on with your own cases, Guy?
Right. Well, with my own cases, the CPS, as I said, they had until Monday just gone to provide documentation regarding land registry as being proof of ownership. Title deeds not being proof of ownership, because I've got all the title deeds, and the judge had said that they had to be provided by that date. And then I've only just received the information last night that the clerk of the court that they got a 2-week extension. Well, okay, look, they're not gonna produce the documents because they haven't got them anyway, and but. Why should I keep suffering, having to be held, waiting for this stuff to go on all the time? In the meantime, my father's buried at Bodmin Manor. I'm not able to visit the grave under the bail conditions.
Disgusting.
So what's going on? The guy at the manor apparently is trying to sell it for less than he bought it. So obviously he thinks it's a problem. There's no one living there. It's an empty building, which I'm not allowed access to. I try to use the criminal court to sort out the civil stuff. So this is why I've charged 2 bailiffs and I've successfully summoned 2 bailiffs for burglary, another bailiff for assault, because they've been using fraudulent instruments against me. And this is where I think this all links in, because now they know that the bailiff's instruments are fraudulent, and that basically they can't stand up to scrutiny. The police are starting to harass us and just gate crash into people's properties. Which, I mean, ultimately, if there's enough of us, and if there's 600 people at Tom's and they try to use fraudulent documents, then I'm afraid they're going to find themselves cable tied and arrested. The police, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't say that lightly, but I mean, the public have lost confidence. We've lost confidence in our police force. We've lost confidence in our judiciary, and it's only supported, all the civil stuff is only supported by the confidence of the public. And unfortunately for them, we've lost it on every level, and hopefully that my own personal case is been able to sort of examine and show that to the public. And everything I do is transparent. I try and use everything I do so you can see everything. And I mean, we've got wonderful groups of people all over the country connecting, communicating, and Nottingham's going to be the time. Listen, let's make this the time. May the 1st, let's sort it out. We've got a load of clowns trying to elect themselves into Parliament through whatever process they're doing. I know what Justin's been doing with the Golden Pinocchio Awards and that. I mean, look, the time's come for us to put our foot down with these people. They're all actors and they're all acting outside the boundaries afforded them by legislation.
And can I just add to that? Because I know a few of our viewers have mentioned that you don't get anywhere by creating a protest. Again, like Guy has said and like we've said, this is not a protest. This is people standing up, non-violent. You know, if you've ever been to our celebrations, I'll call them, we've never, ever... I'll tell you what, the only time we've had violence is when the police have turned up and been violent, and I saw that when they carried Guy away. Yeah. And it was evil. And when we was at Tom's, we had these bailiffs there, bully boys, I mean proper big bully boys, and we went down to the local police station and reported them for terrorism because they were terrorists. And it has come to a time where the people are making a stand for what is right under common law. And it's, again, I'm going to use the word fantastic. It's brilliant. It's exceptional news. But we've got problems with, and probably the next clip is coming up.
I was going to say, I mean, it's pretty clear that there's concern within parliamentary or political circles of what's going on here. So here we've got an article from politics.co.uk where David Cameron is hinting at a civil liberties crackdown after the election. This is a pretty strong hint. He's not really hinting, he's making it absolutely clear. He's saying the nature of the threat we face is making it more difficult for the security services to identify terrorist plots, especially thanks to new technology. We must always ensure our outstanding intelligence and security agencies have the power to keep us safe. He's saying other parties might be aware of causing offence or being criticised by those who see every single measure as an affront to their civil liberties. I know the threats. I have to make the judgment calls needed to tackle them, and I know that above all, our generation must fight various threats, blah, 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 blah. And he goes on to say, we have already reformed the present strategy so that it focuses on non-violent as well as violent extremism. We will now go even further. We will outlaw groups that foment hate with the introduction of new banning orders against extremist organisations. And so, really, the fact that this event is happening on the 1st of May is pretty timely, because if it was happening on the 10th of May or the 15th of May, then perhaps we would be receiving a slightly different reaction from the police and so on. But Guy, a number of weeks ago, we came down to Mr. Ebert's house and did some filming with you and with Tom Crawford and with Mr. Ebert. And that was with the help of Oliver Paglia, who's a filmmaker, and Malcolm Massey, who everybody knows. In fact, we'll be back in the office next week and helping do the programme next week, hopefully. That film has been completed and, in fact, was shown at a film festival in Bristol a couple of weeks ago, just before I went on holiday. The reaction to it, Guy, was absolutely fantastic, and there was a further invitation for it to be submitted to more serious film festivals, a couple of more serious film festivals, which is happening now. We're going to show that film immediately after this programme, and I'll send you the details of the links later on, guys, so that you can send it around places. But Oliver has done a fantastic job. We all did the filming, and he did the editing, and it really has come out pretty well. It's a short film, but it gets the message across to ordinary people about this issue of fraudulent court documents.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And I mean, listen, when these characters are talking about terrorism, okay, let's look. Maybe we've got a few terrorist groups in this country called the Conservative Party, the Labour Party, the Liberal Party. So we start doing a bit of research into them. And their big problem is that the lay people out here, right, who they're supposed to be representing, are actually looking into things far more than anyone could ever imagine. They never expected lay people to be as well versed in these matters as they are, and it's all over as far as I'm concerned. I mean, and this is and this is what we've got to get across to people. Let's join together. You're not alone. There are so many people. I've had I've had a single dad with a couple of kids getting his lock drilled out of his house at 8:30 in the morning over some nonsense, over some bankruptcy, fraudulent, land registry, fraudulent. Every single aspect of anything that we've investigated, and thanks to Mr. Ebert, we've gone into this forensically, falls apart. Nothing stands up to scrutiny. Nothing is correct in this country. Let's get our country back.
That's right. They're brilliant words. I like it. I like what Guy said. He keeps saying, let's be on the right side of history. And I love that quote. Absolutely love the quote. One thing that a few of our viewers are saying, they're wanting the details in terms of the address of the public house where we're going to meet and have these celebrations. So if people contact us
we'll put the details up on the UK Column website.
Yeah, we'll put the details up on the UK Column website.
The main question people are asking, Guy, is how far away it is from the train station.
It's right. Well, we've wrecked the place. It's right close by. Everything's absolutely on the money. The train station is right close by. The courts are close by. The town hall's close by. It's a 2-minute walk. Yeah.
Excellent. Right.
And if the pub's shut, there's a great big piece of greenery by the side of it. It's all built into the castle. And like I said, obviously, you guys give us a fantastic platform for what we're doing. Yeah. And we've got buses travelling up from the south coast. We've got 2 buses travelling up. We've got the peacekeepers who are literally going to be there wearing these black or grey jumpers with peacekeeper and love on the back, just making sure that everybody's not getting too excited about what's going on. But we're all going to be there joining and communicating. And excellent. I mean, if I can just say, get hold of us. We're going to be putting stuff through Response, Beat the Bailiffs, Get Out of Debt Free, Bastion Radio, and obviously yourselves. And by that time, let's have a lot of us there, and let's get on with it. Right, okay, there's a time for action, and now let's act. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and tonight as well, Bastion Radio will obviously be making an announcement. I think from 8 o'clock tonight. I'm not sure. Are you on Bastion Radio tonight, Guy?
I might be. I know John and Justin were on it last night. Yeah. And I'd suggest everybody watch that as well. But I mean, yeah, let's get together now. Let's sort it out.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
Remember, people, if you feel alone and you feel alone with your financial problems, you're not alone. There's loads of us out here. We know the score. We know the scam, right? Get hold of us. And we don't expect anyone to do anything other than attend and communicate in Nottingham. There are plenty of people there who are prepared to do the work of what's necessary and show them that basically, we're under the boot of these characters and we're going to get from under that boot. Yeah.
Brilliant. Excellent. Thank you very much, Guy. Thanks again. You're always great sport on this programme, and we do appreciate it every time you come on.
Yeah, always more than welcome.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Feel free to stay on, and if you want to comment on anything else that you see, we've only got a couple more stories to do here. Just before I move on, quite some time ago now, many people will remember Paul and Asha Roberts, and we covered their story on the UK Column News. Intbell, who is one of our members, has been supporting them diligently ever since, and he has to be applauded for that. And he's highlighting that they are back in court for an adoption hearing. I believe it's the 26th of May in Derby. We will be putting out more details on that in due course. But that's another thing which is coming up which needs lots of public support. These guys deserve the support. They don't deserve to have had the treatment from social services that they had. And so we will be attempting to get a reasonable number of people at that event, that situation as well.
Yeah, on the 26th.
On the 26th of May, yeah. Okay, back to the rest of the news. RT today covering this article, Germany calling for remote-controlled airliners since the Germanwings crash. And I thought this was a little bit ironic because back in 2002, Andreas von Bülow, who was a member of the Schmidt government, I think he was Defense Secretary at one point in Germany and also Research and Technology Secretary of State, he admitted that while he had been in post, He had required new Boeing aircraft, which had been bought by Lufthansa. He had required Boeing to remove the uninterruptible autopilot from those aircraft at that time. I believe this was during the late 80s. Of course, what the uninterruptible autopilot does is permit control of an aircraft from the ground, allegedly to prevent hijacking situations. And of course, Field McConnell, who spoke at the BCG conference in February, March, he has in fact taken a number of court cases against Boeing and against the Airline Pilots Association in the United States, dealing with exactly this issue of Boeing aircraft and remote control capability. If you want to know a bit more about, get a bit of an overview, there's this article on 21st Century Wire called Flight Control, Boeing's Uninterruptible Autopilot System, Drones and Remote Hijacking. That's a great overview of the system and its history, and I recommend that people have a read of that. But I just thought it was quite ironic that the Germans, following an accident, horrendous accident as it was, are now calling for remote control in Boeing and other aircraft when in fact it was their own government which removed that functionality in the first place.
And now they're putting it in there, and I don't know how hackable it is, but you know.
Well, that is something which is being discussed openly now.
It's a concern, isn't it?
Okay, what's this about? Sol Campbell.
Well, I saw this this morning. Sol Campbell's turned his skin white to encourage black people to vote in the general election.
I presume this is a Photoshop job. He hasn't actually painted it.
I've not got his direct telephone number, so I'm not quite sure. But what I'd say to people, and we always joke around a little bit, do you know all these parties, all these mainstream parties, are criminal cartels? You know, I don't want to be that harsh, but the fact of the matter is, it's got to that stage. So you can paint yourself white, green, pink, blue, whatever. You know, it's not going to change anything until you do things like Guy's family do, the Crawford family do, and response groups, and these different groups that are all about bringing back justice and equality to the United Kingdom.
Couldn't have said it better.
Oh, thank you.
Brilliant. Okay, the Russians have finally realised that Afghanistan is nothing more than a drug manufacturing factory.
Seriously?
Yes. I mean, the World Drug Report for a long time now has been highlighting this each and every year, but finally the Russians have worked it out, and the Russia's Security Council is calling for this to be dealt with, and they're really criticising the US and Britain for what has happened in Afghanistan. Unfortunately, they're still making the mistake that they're using rhetoric like, despite the efforts of the United States to control the drug problem, it continues to get worse year on year. The fact of the matter is that it's only a couple of years since it came to light that the British troops were being asked to hand out leaflets to local poppy growers, saying that the British government supports their activities and you know, they understand they've got to make a living and don't worry about it too much.
That's right, yeah.
We've got to remember what this is about. This is about keeping the financial system afloat, because the poppies get turned into heroin, and the heroin trade is what is keeping the financial system afloat at the moment. The other interesting point to make about this is that despite the fact that there is this burgeoning opium production going on in Afghanistan, the National Health Service still suffers a shortage of availability of opiates, and you've got to ask why. And for that reason, British farmers are growing opium in Britain, in British fields. And if we've got this massive opium production going on in Afghanistan, why isn't it being used for legitimate purposes rather than heroin? So I think perhaps some of these questions should be handed over to the Russian establishment. Maybe they should think about those rather than trying to apologise for the United States by suggesting that that it's just, you know, incompetence that's the cause of this. It's not. It's policy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay, and we'll end with this. What was this story about police officer denies beating man with a baton at the O2 Arena?
I thought this would be quite interesting because what Guy's coming with and what we've found over years, this isn't just started. This isn't new over the last few months. It's just become worse and worse. And this was at One Direction. Was it One Direction?
One Direction,
a boy
yes.
band, anyway. One Direction, and they were getting a bit excited as kids do, and this young lad got hit 8 times in the head and across the face by a baton. Ruthless behaviour, and this police officer said he didn't do it, but our friends at the Crown Prosecution Services, the CPS, basically felt that there's enough evidence there to prosecute.
So unlike the story yesterday where we were talking about the US police officer who basically ran over somebody at about 60 miles per hour and got away with it, here there's still some comeback if
there's still some, and I'm sure Guy will agree with me in some cases. I can't remember his name, but I'm sure it's Judge Cadbury. He seemed to be a fair judge in his reasoning. But I mean, well, let's bring Guy into this. Actually, what do you think, Guy?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, Nigel Cadbury was a decent guy at heart. You knew. I mean, he was supporting something that maybe he wasn't. I mean, that's why I was getting summonses issued against bailiffs, thanks to him, and he was just doing his job. He was doing the right thing. So it was only when then all of a sudden we had the CPS would come and steal the case, and then say that there was they'd examined the file, which I hadn't given them, so they'd never had the file, and said that there was no case to answer. So I mean, we have got good people, but it's time for good people to stand up.
That's right, yeah.
Including and that's enough. It's all over. It's all over all this fast.
Including these good people these good people who are judges or within the CPS, etc., etc. And there are good police officers out there that want to do their duty, but they're being suppressed.
Yeah.
By people that are more senior. Maybe they're part of an organisation.
Operation Tiberius. Anyone watching this, check out Operation Tiberius. It's a police inquiry into Freemasonry that's going on, and we've got the guys with the shiny batons, I call them. The guys who spend a lot of time polishing their shoes and their batons.
Yes, yeah.
And they're usually the Freemasonry element. And what's happening? The good coppers on the ground aren't able to do anything because the guys further up the food chain are pulling the strings on them. Yeah. And we've had enough. Look, it's all been exposed. It's like naughty children who won't go to bed, right? Well, let's put them to bed. The trip to Jerusalem. Let's get on with it. Middle of the country, middle of the land, Midlands. Let's put these people to bed. Let's get together and let's start getting this sorted.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Totally
All right, brilliant. Okay, well tomorrow we've got David Scott on as he usually is on Fridays. Are you here tomorrow?
I am, yes.
Yes, brilliant. So that's tomorrow. As I said, immediately after this program, Fatally Flawed, the short video that we shot with Guy and Mr. Ebert and Tom Crawford, covering the corruption of court documents and the corruption of the court procedure rules and civil proceedings. Please, we're going to put it up on YouTube later on. Please, we'll distribute that link, and please distribute it as far and wide as you can. Yep. And we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time.